UI is user interface, anything that's not game related, so menus and meters and combo numbers and all that good stuff.
The hallmark of a good UI, I would say, is making sure that when the player goes through the menus that they're able to navigate pretty easily and understand where everything is. And when instructions come up, we want to make sure that they're there and they're clear and they're obvious, but they don't kind of interfere with the gameplay. This is what we refer to as the shell. It's the kind of like the intro to the game. Currently it's our alpha version, so it's somewhat simple, but basically we have a skybox in the background. You can see the clouds animating. This is the real Kratos model. We're actually calling an animation to the character. So when you choose a new game, you get a sub-menu, and you can choose if you want to play an easy, normal, or hard. Very hard is locked out in the beginning. So you can see that when I choose a game, you'll see like the camera pan into Kratos' face, and then a video starts up. So all of that has to be hand-coded.
So this is the basis of the Pandora's box, the menu system that we have in-game. So it's a full 3D model, and then I get that into the UI and do everything that needs to be done to make it work. So tag it with all the tags it needs, text elements, things like that. So all these kind of proxy quads we have in here all represent a line of text that shows up in the game. We pretty much start off on this demon face side, and we zoom up real close to frame it so that it's kind of more 2D looking. This would be the power-up menu. So you go to this menu and you upgrade your weapons, and you're able to kind of zoom into the models and rotate them around. At least that's what we're hoping. So we won't make it for alpha, but we're gonna shoot for beta. You can swap between menus by hitting R1 and L1, and that rotates the camera around the box to another side, and then we frame another side of the box and put information for like the items menu. So this is the items menu. Top of the box is the status screen, so that's how many kills you have and all that good stuff. And then we push through into the box to get to the moves list. And then it goes in kind of like this cycle, so you can cycle through all of these menus in order. So pretty much what you're seeing here is the Pandora's box, and then from here you go, you swap to other screens, and we have all these kind of cool little animations going on. Eventually inside of these screens there'll be much more ancillary animations and things going on. This time around, for God of War 3 anyways, we completely switched our system up. This time it's all 3D, the same shaders that we put on game objects we use in the UI. So it opens up a whole new avenue of what we can do. It also opens up a whole new set of problems. So
most definitely. Some of the problems we ran into creating the shell is using the character animation system that we have developed to animate the parts of the shell, specifically the menus. Surprisingly enough, it doesn't work that well. It works well for characters, but not well for the stuff that we need to do. So we had to add a lot of new tech to the system in order to get it working. Richard's pretty new to the UI. I mean, Richard's been here for a while at the studio, but he's just recently started helping me with the UI stuff, and so having him as a second set of eyes for this whole system has been really helpful. And he's a really technical guy, so has a good rapport with coders, so he can get more done than I can sometimes. Yeah, it's funny because Corey will go down there and he'll ask them to do something, and they're like, no, and then, no, I'm just kidding.
We're kind of the bridge between the ideas that Stig and the designers come up with and different 3D departments. We help visualize it on paper, painting it up, drawing it up in 2D, and then they take that and actually make the assets for the game.
You have to come up with cool design with limited time. The design also has to make sense to the art director, game director, the lead artist. So it's definitely fun, but it's stressful.
What's usually given to us is a quick description and then sometimes a write-up on whatever that creature or character has to do, their function in game, and there's always sort of a highlight on special abilities or things that we need to focus on.
There's only 4 concept artists here. We all sit together, so we do get to see what we're doing.
I feel like I should know a lot more about Greek mythology by now. I should have my PhD degree or something. But still, a lot of times, it's just sort of make up a lot of things, and it's still a lot of fun.
Right now, as you could see on my monitor, working on Pandora's Cage. This is a final concept design that was proved and it's good to go. But to get to this point, there was a lot of sketches, a lot of color variation, a lot of input that I had to get through. We've tried maybe girls hanging together, or we tried maybe girls holding the fire torch, or we even tried the guys holding a cube, or we even tried the guys holding the torch. So after all this variation, the one got picked, which was this. These two characters, Icarus. Because I mainly focus on environment, I took a lot of pictures of myself. Actually, it was my wife took it for me last night. It's kind of embarrassing to show, but I'm wearing my boxers and just shirt. Just try to come up with the pose that I want, even the back part, the front side, and even the hands. So a little frustrating because I do environment paintings, which deals with a lot of rectangles and cubes and where the light is gonna head and all that. But when it comes to character, it's more organic. For me, it's more difficult.
Is Palace for the Gods. These are the basic thumbnails I showed to director. Then from here, we start to bring in all these location elements where each portion of the buildings are representing different levels. It's not just figuring out the entire look of the place. I also have to figure out how each sections are connected. Actual elevation of the location and how it's connected has to be pretty accurate. Every time I do a second pass on the concept, it raises so many questions again. Feedbacks means change, and after that it raises different questions, and another meeting, and feedback again, and changes. So it started with a very ambitious and very inspired task, and then slowly became a big headache. But the funny thing is, you never get to see this scale in actual game, because actual gameplay only takes place in this top section here. Like you see, it is the entire concept is being drawn out from the entire mountain towards the balcony area where the most gameplays take place.
One of my most favorite tasks was to create Aphrodite, the goddess of love. My chore, as it were, was to create the most beautiful woman that ever existed in Greek mythology. Here I've got some initial sketches. There's a lot of Greek art that involves, sort of the bare breast and things like that. So we were trying to come up with a way of framing these really feminine aspects of this character without being just vulgar. I originally had her hair always bound up, very Greek-like, but they really wanted it hanging down. This is the final three-quarter view of Aphrodite. As you can see, some of the stuff that I had originally concepted in the other pieces did stay. One of the mandates for the character was that she have a girdle made by Hephaestus. Some of the backstory is that Aphrodite was given as a wife to Hephaestus by Zeus. In original Greek mythology, she cheats on Hephaestus by bedding down with Ares, the god of war, the original god of war. He punishes her by catching her in a trap with Ares and sort of parades the two of them in front of the other gods to shame them. And she was ashamed. She's a naughty girl. But in our story, he just kept her trapped. We've got various somewhat sexy, bondagey entrapments that we've worked up. So the modelers will take this and build, Aphrodite in the flesh. And I must say, I'm really looking forward to see what they do with it.
Do you know how long it's been since a real man has come into my chambers? Those bridges outside are nearly destroyed. Zeus refuses to have that stupid mortal Daedalus stop working on his precious labyrinth to fix them.
I'm Max Ankar, the senior effects artist, and working on God of War III. This is my new helper or friend. Hold on. Let's restart that. I speak in clicks. Okay, wait, hold on. Ready? This is my partner, Jesse, Cheese Whiz. That's all I can say. I'm working on God of War 3 here, making the greatest effects. Got a partner now, Jesse. He's awesome. It's gonna be great having some help on God of War 3. And yeah, cool.
I looked on the internet and find out all these different movie special effects, kind of duplicated what they did. We filmed the blood in the idea that maybe we could use some of it for textures.
Like a spray instead of the last one, just it leaking out. This one should spray like kind of like more like an artery.
Oh, that's pretty great.
And what we found out, the simplest one was just like kind of like a water bottle filled up with movie blood. And that kind of gave them almost best squirting effect out of all the blood.
We got some good blood today. I know my partner here, Jesse, sacrificed a lot to help out. He donated the blood for us, and I'm really glad we had Jesse here to help us out.
He's sweet.
Yeah, Jesse's really sorry. Jesse, watch out. Okay. Thank you.
We used a couple little parts of it right here. This is the film blood. You got a series of images that you rendered out. You put those on the polygonal cards, and that's what you're throwing out of the particle system, basically, or splatting on the ground. That's kind of what's going around in the game, is the little blood splatters when Kratos gets hit or enemies get hit.
This recording session for God of War that we're starting today is the culmination of a lot of preparation. This is definitely the most complicated session I've ever put together.
I'm gonna go get a sweatshirt.
We should go in the other room while we can, huh?
One of you here and one of you here. How close do you need to be? Here, just duck under the microphone. We need to take a couple minutes to readjust where things are. I'm a little nervous about this session, just the number of variables. We've got a lot going on. 2 actors at a time. We've got a lot of people going to be at the session. We've got facial capture, we've got teleprompters, we've got all kinds of stuff. It's a new studio. There's room for error, but I like to think that I've nailed everything down before we got there. But I'm definitely, my breath's coming a little shorter today than it normally does. We are moments away.
What was it, Kratos?
All I remember is what I have lost.
That is why you should give me the power. I understand its true meaning. And
my character, I like to think of her as she thinks she's doing something good, but in reality, she's trying to take over the world.
Kratos, she is the key to our revenge. I trust you to do the right thing, Kratos.
You shouldn't.
Kratos, I found out, is a piece of me that I kind of didn't know existed. It's kind of a dark side that it really is fun getting a chance to explore.
I delivered your revenge on Zeus.
My vengeance ends now. I owe you nothing!
When you have the other actor in the room, you're able to come up with a rhythm. It makes it more real.
I really, really like it. It gives you a chance to play off of what the other person is doing as opposed to doing it by yourself.
We're getting so much from this performance that we wouldn't normally get. I'm totally stoked about it right now.
You owe me this, Kratos!
I owe you nothing!
Bravo. That's perfect. Awesome.
Excellent.
That was it. That was it.
I knew you'd come back. I've never worked with the prompters, and it's really freeing for the actor because, you know, you're looking straight ahead instead of always, you know, face down in the page, and it's really a cool experience.
Find the labyrinth! Ah! Ah! Please! Help! Kratos!
One of my favorite things to do is scream. I really, I don't know why. Maybe, no, I don't know why. I saw Zeus torture my father. I just try really a simple approach to it. It's bringing those words into your character and actually thinking a thought before it. It makes it more real. They called me a monster.
Beautiful. Natalie was new. We had never worked with her before. She was an ace. She totally knocked it out of the park.
Many more variables than a normal voiceover session for a game today, and it went very, very well. I'm happy with how today turned out.
Phenomenal. Phenom.
That's all that really matters is Stig is happy, and if Stig's happy, we're all happy.
Who is Hercules? Well, it was me for 7 years on TV, so this is a whole different look. I didn't quite have that look. I had kind of more gear on, and I didn't weigh, you know, 4,000 pounds. This guy's like about 12 feet tall.
They called them labors. Ha!
There you go. That was good. That was really good. Yeah. Kevin Sorbo was obviously an easy choice because he's Hercules, but not necessarily in terms of the way that he's played Hercules in the past, a little bit of a departure. Can we get, but this time, brother?
Yeah, more
seething.
But this time, brother, this time I will destroy you.
That's good.
In this game, he's a much darker brute. He's not the brightest light bulb out there, but at the same time, when it comes to war, he's brilliant.
The direction is more pissed.
Okay. As pissed as you can get.
The most valuable I can be is to take what the creator of the game has been imagining and seeing on paper for a long time and bringing it to life with the voice, and trying to find different ways to get to actors to achieve what he wants to do.
Try one thing, if you would, Kevin.
Yeah.
Take the breath after stables, and then you can finish off the phrase.
Okay.
The most frustrating thing about doing voiceover is the amount of time you've got to do each line. You've got to repeat it, but you've got to also do it in so many different ways, so many different inflections, and you end up losing your voice.
Have you not killed enough of your family?
That's a
Good. That's very good. It was a slam dunk. He really brought a passion to the character. He was very professional. His voice was kind of running out. That's when he gave some of his best stuff.
Fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you. It wasn't the same Hercules, not even close to it. So it was a darker and more sinister person and a more evil person to deal with and play. But you know, from my standpoint, it was a lot of fun.
It's the way to start.
New day of recording. Very excited about it. Today we're doing Rip Torn and Malcolm McDowell. The game's based on Greek mythology. This guy's like the Smith god, and he's like
always the Vulcan.
Yes, exactly.
The Roman name for Hephaestus is Vulcan. He's the god of fire, and he's a great blacksmith. The greatest thing you have on stage is the other actor.
I don't get extra pay for this.
Thank you. They are entertainment, and they are movies, and you can get involved in it. It kind of gives you a semblance of what live theater used to be when you had audience participation. Yeah, I kind of look like that.
Ghost of Sparta, it is you. Well, well, well. I thought Zeus would have killed you by now.
Daedalus.
Oh, and what does he do?
He's the inventor. He also created the labyrinth.
The labyrinth? Wow. And where is the golf course?
It's really cool. Eat lunch with Malcolm McDowell. You can't beat that.
The ice storm, that will give me the power to bring my son back to me. Where is my boy?
Awesome.
You bastards!
That was awesome.
We need one for coverage, but that was
We want to protect it with one more, please.
Oh, we're not going to go protecting all these takes, are we?
Yeah,
Don't
we
tell
are.
me we're going to do 2 fucking takes. Why don't you just use a bit of proper tape? Why do we have to do 2 takes of everything?
Well, because we
Not for protection.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Let us listen to it.
That's nonsense.
And we're going to listen to one line and be right with you.
Okay. You don't mind, right? Because it's really, if I'm in a jag and it's going, it's going.
I hear you. Could we do the line to escape it, please?
Yes.
One more time.
Tell me what you need.
The word catalyst had a little bit of a squirtle to it.
Okay.
Okay? When you're ready?
Okay. To escape it, we must assemble it.
Actors are so varied and so different in the way they work, and to find what that key in there is and unlock that door with them and then be able to play is really a challenge and a kick at the same time.
He said that if I took the liquid fire and the sling, oh, my boy, oh, my child.
You know, I actually like that. That's different than what we thought.
Terrific, thank you.
I like it.
Vengeance on the king of gods. You'll need an army of gods. And weapons. Of course, weapons. I could build. I could use the fire of Hades. Wait, please. Please, wait. Free me. Free me from my torture.
We're good. We're good.
Thank you, Spot. Thanks, Barton. I say, thanks so much.
Cheers, good sir.
I say squatta.
We're not used to people coming in here and nailing it so, like, basically knocking it out of the park like this. So
Oh, really?
we had more time, so.
Well, no, okay. Well, listen, I just thought, oh, my God, I thought I had reams and reams and I had to do everything twice. And it was like, oh, my God, if you've got it, you've got it, right?
Right. Yeah, we got some great stuff.
Great.
It's fantastic.
Terrific.
Good.
Thank you. My pleasure. To work with Malcolm McDowell and Rip Torn in the same day.
Same day, yeah.
Pretty wild experience.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me, too, the different acting styles, because Malcolm McDowell's very much the Royal Shakespeare Company, and it comes in, you know, word for word like that. And Rip Torn is more of the old actor's studio, and he's a little bit up and down and nowhere, but out of that comes a gold of its own kind.
There's an extra level of dimension and texture that we got to them that's just through the fact that they're fucking good actors.
Now that we've gotten the recording part of it down, my stress level has decreased a great deal.
Now you can have a glass of wine.
Now I can have a glass of wine.
But you are the reason I live in torment.
He told me he would kill you.
He can't. Perhaps he did allow me to kill the Nemean lion, but he made your name known amongst the people. A fierce warrior, a killer made a hero, a man made a god.
But you, what have you done with my child? My boy, where is my boy?
Your son is dead, Davis.
Boy, my child, no, no, no!